All right, class. So moving on to our last lecture on physiology, we will talk about the urinary physiology today, or the renal physiology. Congratulations. Congratulations that you have made this far into the semester. Just hang on there. There are a lot of assignments that are actually due in the last couple of weeks of the semester. So I understand you are working really hard to get your lab stuff done and lecture stuff done. And I have just one little recommendation here. Take one piece at a time and it should be okay. All right, so talking about the renal physiology, we will look into the urinary system. And the urinary system is comprised of few structures. First, we see the kidneys, right? The kidneys which are sitting on the posterior abdominal wall. These are the kidneys. And then we have the urinary tract. The structures that make up the urinary tract are the ureters, which are these tubes. The ureters lead to this sac-like chamber. This is called the urinary bladder. And then the bladder leads to the external environment by this tube called urethra. So we have kidneys, ureter, urinary bladder, and urethra. These three structures make up the urinary tract. All right. So moving on to the basic functions of the urinary system. The first and most important function of the urinary system is removal of waste products from the bloodstream. Your kidneys filter blood to produce urine. So blood carrying all the waste products come into the kidneys, and the kidneys then filter out all the unwanted toxic waste, nitrogenous waste materials, and form urine. And that's how the blood gets purified by the urine. Obviously, the kidneys produce urine. The urinary bladder stores urine for a short period of time. And then the bladder and the urethra also helps in excretion of the urine. Kidneys play a major role in blood volume regulation. We kind of talked about that a little briefly during cardiovascular system when we talked about the hypotension and hypertension. We briefly talked about that. But in this unit or in this lecture, we will also focus on blood volume regulation by the kidneys in depth. Kidneys produce a hormone called erythropoietin that regulates erythrocyte production. And then kidneys also play a major role in pH balance, to be discussed later in this chapter. So we will start by looking at the anatomy of the kidney first. Remember, this is review from your anatomy class. So I will go real fast because this is just review. Now we are looking into a coronal section of the kidney, and the part that is marked in bright pink or hot pink color, that's the cortex. So if you look into a coronal section, you have an outer cortex, and then deep to that, the part that is marked in green is the medulla. All right. Now, we did mention that kidneys filter blood to produce urine, right? Here, so blood has to come to the kidney, right? Which vessel carry blood to the kidney? Well, this is our renal artery. And this is the vessel that carries blood towards the kidney. And then in the kidney, blood gets filtered, right? And the toxic-free blood or the toxin-free blood comes out of the kidney via this vessel, and this is the renal vein. Okay, now here I want to talk a little bit about something that I feel is important. Now, in our mind, when we say artery, what do we think? We think that artery carrying oxygenated blood, right? So artery carry oxygenated blood. And veins carry deoxygenated blood, right? We know that. And in our mind, we try to think, oh, arteries, all good. Veins, all bad, right? But I want you to understand that this is not always true. The renal artery does bring in oxygenated blood. I agree, this blood is full of oxygen, but this blood also carries all the wastes from different parts of the body. And as the blood passes through specific structures within the kidney, which we will talk about later, the blood gets filtered out, the waste is removed, and the blood that comes out via the renal vein is deoxygenated, but it is free of waste. Free of waste. So I want you to appreciate this. Appreciate the fact that it's not always true that arteries all good, veins all bad. No. All right. So we did mention that kidneys filter blood to produce urine. The structures that really filter the blood, those are called nephrons. Now, you look into each kidney, right? This is a kidney coronal section. And then we are zooming into this little part of the kidney and blow it up. As you blow it up, you do see these yellow squiggly tubules, right? These squiggly little tubules are nothing but they are called nephrons. The nephrons are the essential structures that filter blood to produce urine. Therefore, nephrons are called structural. Man, my writing. Therefore, nephrons are called structural and functional unit of kidney. Now, Rupa, how many nephrons are there in each kidney? Remember, each kidney has about 1.25 million nephrons, which is a lot. And all these nephrons are continuously filtering blood 24/7 to keep our body free from toxic materials. If you zoom into each nephron and blow it up, you do see a nephron at the bottom. So this is a nephron. And a nephron has few parts. Let's talk about that here. So if you look into this picture, I'll use a different color. So here at the bottom, we are looking at a nephron. This part that I'm marking in black, that is called glomerular capsule, also known as Bowman's capsule. I refer to this as Bowman's capsule a lot. So I really want you to understand that the terms glomerular capsule and Bowman's capsule are interchangeable. The Bowman's capsule then leads to a coiled part, and this coiled part that I am marking, like all this coiled part, this is called the proximal convoluted tubule. It's called proximal because it's closer to the Bowman's capsule. The proximal convoluted tubule then leads to a hairpin loop-like structure, and this hairpin loop is called nephron loop, also known as loop of Henle. Now, the loop of Henle can be divided into two segments. The segments that move inferiorly or that goes downward, this is called the descending limb. I'll draw here. This is the descending limb of the loop of Henle. And the part that comes back up, like this way, this is called the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. This then leads to another coiled portion, if you notice this part. And this is called the distal convoluted tubule. It's called distal because this is further away from the Bowman's capsule. The distal convoluted tubule then joins a collecting tubule, which I'm marking in green, collecting duct. And remember, a collecting duct can receive multiple nephrons. So this is another nephron connecting to the collecting duct. This is another nephron. All right. So these are the different parts of the nephron. We will go over the physiology of different parts of the nephron later in this chapter, and we will see how the Bowman's capsule help in urine formation. What are the roles of the proximal and distal convoluted tubule in urine formation, and how does a loop of Henle help in the process? So we will look into the physiology of each part of the nephron. But before doing that, we do understand that blood has to come to the nephron in order to be filtered, right? So how does blood actually get to the nephron? Let's take a look. In this picture, we are looking into a we are looking into a coronal section of the kidney, and then all the blood vessels are marked. Do we care? We don't care. This is not anatomy. We have learned and talked about the names of these blood vessels in anatomy. We are not bothered to memorize these for physio. But what I really want you to understand is that look at the renal artery. The renal artery carries in oxygenated blood, which is also full with excretory products. So that comes into the kidney. And then this blood kind of moves through these red vessels. So the renal artery branches and rebranches, as we see, right? And then ultimately the blood flows to the nephron. Do you see a nephron here? Yeah. Ultimately blood moves to the nephron, and the nephron starts doing its job. Okay? Urine formation. Good. And then once the nephron filters all the toxic things out, the deoxygenated but pure blood comes back through the venous system, through the veins, as you see in blue. And then these veins carry the deoxygenated, waste-free blood and dumps it back into the inferior vena cava. So the blood that goes in is oxygenated but full of waste. You get this, right? Okay. At this point, I just want you to focus on the renal artery, renal vein, and the nephron. All these names, forget. Don't worry about that. All right, now we will talk a little more about exactly how the nephron receives blood. But before we move into that concept, there is something really important I want you to talk about. If you are taking physiology or anatomy with me, I am actually really proud that my students have made this far into the semester. And how are you different from other physio instructors? Other physio students? You know the concepts really well, and that's what makes me super proud. All right, so let's talk about some concept. Okay, what do we see here? This is a hand-drawn picture, obviously. We see an artery, right? The artery is branching into a capillary bed, and we name that as first capillary bed. This capillary bed comes together to form a vessel, and this is called a portal vessel. This is not an artery, not a vein. This is a portal vessel. The portal vessel then leads to a second capillary bed, which is numbered as capillary bed number 2, which then comes together to form a vein. This whole thing is called a portal vessel. Why are we talking about this? Because it's a portal system. Listen carefully. The portal system associated with the capillary network associated with the blood supply of the kidney, that is what plays a crucial role in urine formation. Again, I repeat, there is a portal vessel system associated with the blood supply of the kidney that plays a major role in urine formation. All right, so remember this. We have an artery, first capillary bed, portal vessel, second capillary bed, vein. One more time, artery, first capillary bed, portal vessel, second capillary bed, vein. Do not forget. I'll start with a new video.